President Xi gets pissed off at Justin Trudeau. What does it mean for Canada's relations with China? This is the Great White North Report.
I'm in love with the system. Never going home. I'm in love.
During the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia, Justin Trudeau had some talks with Xi Jinping. And afterwards, Trudeau, doing what he usually does, gets in front of the microphone to the media and talks to them about what went on. Now, Xi Jinping heard about it. He got so pissed off at him that he expressed displeasure with the Prime Minister for leaking their G20 conversation to the media. Because you got to remember, in China, the media is seen as nothing more than a propaganda tool. Xi would only release what he wants the press to know. And having Trudeau run his mouth off about what was said between them just doesn't happen in China. So Xi lost face in the eyes of the Chinese people and rebuked Trudeau and made a threatening rebuke, which was a rare and surprising move by the Chinese president, and highlighted the disregard he has for Canadian Prime Minister, according to some experts and former diplomats. Of course, Xi Jinping has no respect for Trudeau. He doesn't have any respect for Canada itself. He sees us nothing more as a weak state to be bullied around. And they showed that during the Meng the Merciless campaign, when they kidnapped 2 Canadians and Trudeau did nothing to retaliate. Trudeau pulled a brave Sir Robin. Trudeau should have slapped him down right then and there and say, hey, I can do it. I lead a country. I can do what the hell I want. Like, he certainly wouldn't speak like that to the U.S. president. So, whether it be Sleepy Joe, Trump, or Obama, he wouldn't have spoke like that. So I agree. He doesn't see our Prime Minister as someone worthy and doesn't see Canada as an important partner. He only sees us as a resource state, a tributary state in the Chinese system. And this is the Chinese thinking, you got to remember. They see Canada as a tributary state, not as a worthy adversary or opponent. And he was quite dismissive and threatening, indicating that any illusions the government has that China respects Canada as an influential nation in the world have long since disappeared. No, they don't see us as anything. A resource state that should be tributary. We should be giving them stuff, and we have. We've given them so much foreign aid over the years, and I don't understand why. And Trudeau, being somebody who doesn't like to step up and strike back at anyone, such a nice guy, did nothing. So these two spoke face-to-face briefly on the sidelines of the G20 summit. After the unofficial meeting, the PMO's office, Prime Minister's office, issued a readout of the conversation, noting the topics that were discussed and who raised them. You know, that's common in Canada, that we do that. Lets the people know what's going on. The brief discussion between the two leaders was about media reports that China covertly funded 11 candidates in the 2019 federal election. That's no big surprise. So when the two later crossed paths again in the public space in Bali in full view of the media, they captured the exchange. I saw the exchange and it didn't look very pleasant. Through an interpreter, Xi accused Trudeau of inappropriately leaking the content of their discussion, also claimed that that which was reported in the media was not an accurate reflection of their conversation, which means that Xi doesn't want his own people to know what he said. So Trudeau interrupted the Chinese leader, saying Canada believes in free and open and frank dialogue, which is, Trudeau always says that. And that while they have disagreements, they should work together. But Xi said that Xi told Trudeau that we should have a conversation in a respectful way, otherwise the results can't be predicted. Which means that you run it by him first before you run off to the press. So he's trying to dictate what Trudeau should say in front of the press. Xi's translator didn't translate everything the president said, which makes me wonder if Trudeau actually had his own Chinese interpreter. Though if it was recorded, Trudeau should have been wearing a wire anyway so he could record everything. After the exchange, the pair shook hands and parted ways. Now, later on, Trudeau responded to the incident, saying that his government trusts its citizens want to be appraised of the work that he's doing on their behalf. Actually, yes, I do want to know what he's doing in Bali. Is he just sitting there, sitting on the beach, having a great time, or is he actually mingling and talking about something important? Now, Xi lost his cool, so he lost a lot of face, Xi Jinping. Xi's been in a very good position back home. He just cleaned house. He's in power indefinitely. And everything he does is politically motivated. So by rebuking Trudeau, he has wanted this dressing down to be seen by domestic and international audiences. This is how China reacts to us. And we got to strike back hard. But Trudeau never will. There are so many things we could do to hurt China, as well as continue and be a thorn in their side. But Trudeau's too nice of a guy in power, and those claims of funding candidates in the 2019 election. Think about it. Most of them were probably liberals that they funded. The Chinese leadership didn't want conservatives in power because the conservatives would have been harder on them. They probably would have supported liberal and NDP candidates. More likely liberal because they know the NDP wouldn't have a hope in hell of ever winning an election. But supporting NDP candidates would also... But if they supported NDP candidates that won, it would have weakened any majority government. So they're thinking they might have economic and diplomatic implications. Like that's going to hurt us already. We've already been through that. The Chinese economy is weaker than we think. We need to wean ourselves away from it, and I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to follow the U.S. and stay away from China. Actually, a lot of stuff that China makes or used to make is in Vietnam now. Because the economic atmosphere in China is no longer friendly. So their companies are pulling up stakes, moving to Vietnam, which is friendly. Or they're going to go to Thailand or Cambodia. Or diplomatic implications. What more can they do? I would kick every consulate out, restrict their embassy staff to a handful, and or at worst, pull our own embassy and consulate staffs out of China, kick theirs out of our country, and shift recognition to Taiwan. By doing so, it sends a clear message that we no longer want the CCP. Do we need relations with China? Not really. We seem to do okay for the first 50 years of the Communist Party's life. It wasn't until Pierre Trudeau decided to open up China to trade that things were good at first, but then the underlying goal wasn't what we thought it was. It's interesting that Trudeau didn't release his Indo-Pacific strategy because he knows it's likely to anger Beijing, and it's definitely going to contain measures. And I don't care. I want us to toughen up with China. In fact, our shipbuilding program should be aimed more towards the Pacific than the Atlantic. So I don't see our relationship with China as being anything productive. It'll be productive against Canada, not for Canada. So I say to hell with it. But to go on, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning accused Canada of acting in a condescending manner. Oh, cry me a river. Denied China had interfered in the internal affairs of other nations. Right, that's why they set up illegal police stations. One of their illegal police officers got arrested in the Netherlands. And said that Canada was responsible for the downturn in relations between the two countries. No, it wasn't. It was China overreacting over some stupid wench thinking that she could waltz in when she's got an arrest warrant out for her in another country, that we have extradition treaties. She thought she could waltz into our country, change flights, and go back out. The United States was waiting for her. And Canada should take concrete actions to create the conditions for the improvement of China-Canada relations. No, China should. China unleashed a pandemic and we didn't do boo. The conversation with Kwai Noor should not be interpreted as President Xi criticizing and blaming anyone. Yes, he did. Mao said there's been a clear lack of respect from the Canadian side. Right. There's a clear lack of respect from the Chinese side for the whole thing, keeping Covering and Spavor locked up for 2 years. China has no problem at all with having candid dialogue with other countries. Right. Anytime we say something they don't like, they take it out like little spoiled brats. My advice for Canada is let's toughen up against the Chinese Communist Party and kick them out of Canada. Any Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think. Leave comments in the comment section. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.
I'm in love.